Now Ahab told Jezebel everything Elijah had done, and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. So Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah to say, "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them." Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. When he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there, while he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness. He came to a broom bush, sat down under it, and prayed that he might die. "I have had enough, Lord," he said. "Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors." Then he lay down under the bush and fell asleep. All at once an angel touched him and said, "Get up and eat." He looked around, and there by his head was some bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank, and then lay down again. The angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him and said, "Get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you." So he got up and ate and drank. Strengthened by that food, he traveled 40 days and 40 nights until he reached Horeb, the mountain of God. There he went into a cave and spent the night. And the word of the Lord came to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He replied, "I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too." The Lord said, "Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He replied, "I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too." The Lord said to him, "Go back the way you came, and go to the desert of Damascus. When you get there, anoint Hazael king over Aram." Hear what the Spirit is saying to God's people.
In the name of the Holy Undivided Trinity, Creator, Redeemer, and Holy Comforter. Last Friday, my baby sister called me a grumpy pants. I was exhausted from the week. I was dealing with degree change details, ACPE applications. I was overwhelmed with my chaplain residence application. I just couldn't handle the stress that was happening in my life. And on top of all of those things, I lost my 5mm crochet hook, which is a true tragedy because I am always cold. And I was working on another blanket to put in our very cold junior classroom. And on top of all of that, I had agreed to go to a birthday party that I really didn't think I could be at. One of our senior classmates noticed that I was burning out really fast, and she encouraged me to take a break and to take care of myself over the weekend and to just let everything be. And I told her, "I don't think I have time to take care of myself this weekend. I have too much to do." My plan for Friday was that after the noon Eucharist, I would go to Aldi in Tullahoma, get some groceries that I needed, work on my ACPE application until the birthday party, and then go to that. When I was driving up I-24, coming back from Tullahoma, my transmission failed, and I had to pull onto the shoulder on I-24. right next to a sign that said "Falling Rock" in big letters, which seemed like a good idea at the time. Hindsight is 2020, won't be doing that again. But thankfully, I have a community here that I know will drop everything to come and rescue me when I call and say, "Jean, I need help. My car is broken down and I don't know what to do." Jean helped me get my car back to my apartment, and he calmed me down a little bit, and he told me to eat a sandwich because it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon and I had not eaten at all. And I laughed, and Jean said to me, do you remember when the angel told Elijah to have a sandwich and take a nap and things would look better? Sam, have a sandwich and take a nap and things will look better. And he was right. So when Sunday comes around and I'm trying to pick my sermon text for this sermon, I couldn't decide what I wanted to preach on, so I did what any good Dungeons and Dragons player would do, and I assigned every week a number and rolled a D100, which is a 100-sided die. And because God really likes to make a point sometimes, I rolled proper 7, which is the Elijah story. Because of course. I do think that we as people might be a little dramatic sometimes when we are running out of energy, because who here hasn't said, "Oh, Lord, just take me now. I cannot keep going. Just end it all, please. I'm begging you." Elijah says something similar. He says, "It is enough now, O Lord. Take away my life." We know God's not going to do that. God's going to send an angel to Elijah. He's going to send that angel so that Elijah can have something to eat and take a nap. And then Elijah's going to eat and take another nap. Only then does he have the strength to continue on to Mount Horeb, to hear that shattering silence. That's God's voice. It could be that Elijah would have been fine going on to Mount Horeb without having a couple of naps and a couple of sandwiches, but that's not for us to know or to say. Because in that moment, he felt like he couldn't carry on anymore, and instead of God telling Elijah to pull himself up by his bootstraps, God encourages him to rest, because rest is sacred. We're in seminary. Things happen. We stay up too late trying to get caught up on reading for class, or we forget to eat lunch on a Tuesday. But making a habit out of those things, never eating lunch or never getting enough sleep, can just lead to burnout. Burnout in our academic lives, burnout in our personal lives, and after ordination, God willing, clergy burnout, which is a very real problem. The habits that we create now are going to be the habits that we carry into our future ministry. We're going to carry those into parishes, and it'll influence the way that we minister to our congregations. What good are we as priests if we can't answer a question or minister to someone who asks in a moment of grief why God lets something terrible happen? And what does it say to a group of teenagers on a youth trip if we get kind of snappy because we're hangry, because we haven't taken a minute to just have a sandwich and scroll on TikTok just to be with ourselves? And on the 7th day, God finished the work that he had done. And he rested on the 7th day from all the work that he had done. So God blessed the 7th day and hallowed it, because on it God rested from all the work he had done in creation. Children of God, you are created in God's likeness. If this is true, don't we also need rest? To deny the need for rest and the need for Sabbath is to deny God and ourselves. We see this again in Exodus, when God tells Moses to remember the Sabbath day and to keep it holy. And this is really hard for us as seminarians. Our Sabbath day is just another day of work most of the time. We drive an hour down the mountain, we go to a field ed site, we read and serve and minister to a congregation, we drive an hour back home, and then we sit down to do reading for Becky's class tomorrow, usually. A lot of us also have family responsibilities. We're raising children, we're helping our neighbors, cooking dinner, cleaning because our parents are visiting this weekend. So how are we supposed to keep the Sabbath holy with all of these things that we have to do? Sabbath doesn't have to be a Sunday or even a full day. There's no rule saying Sabbath has to be a full day. Our lives and responsibilities right now in seminary may just not be conducive to a full day of rest. And that's okay. We still have kids to feed. I still need to submit my ACPE application. And our Sabbath can look different. Maybe our Sabbath is just an hour that we set aside once a day to scroll on TikTok or look at silly posts and cat groups about how all orange cats share one brain cell. That can be our Sabbath. Just intentionally spending time doing nothing productive seems really counterintuitive. But time away from the quotidian demands of our daily lives, even for a moment, can be just as healing as a nap under a broom tree and a sandwich. Because when we take care of ourselves, our emotional and physical and mental and spiritual selves, we're equipping ourselves for that long haul. After Elijah rested, he walked for 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb to have one conversation with God. And to borrow from a cliche, seminary isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. We are here for 4 years to study God, to talk to God, to talk about God, to worship God. And if we don't take time to rest and take care of the things that we need, there is no way we're going to make it to graduation. Much less be able to support our friends when they need us the most, when their cars break down on the side of the road or they find themselves in the hospital. We can't pour from an empty cup. Nobody can. After Elijah made it to Horeb, he had the strength to hear God speaking to him in the silence. How often are we so distracted by how hungry we are or how tired we are that we can't focus, and we think to ourselves, I can't go on like this. And you're right. You can't. And that's okay, because even God rested on the seventh day.